This episode of Sideline Warning is brought to you by Roost Sport, makers of the original magnetic running pouch. Whether you're biking, running, hiking, or even traveling, the Roost Sport clips to your waistband with magnets for an easy, convenient way to carry what you need without the bulk of belts or bags. Visit theroostsport.com and use the code SIDELINE30, all lowercase, for 30% off their entire product line. Again, that's theroostsport.com, promo code SIDELINE30. And now on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sideline Warning, the show where sports takes are sure to go way too far into the field. Here to recap this week's biggest and best sports stories are your hosts, Dave Adams, Ben Foster, and Adam Russell.
As always, letting our yes be yes and our no be no, we have promised to come back to you, and we are back to you. You are listening to Sideline Warning, and I am the golden voice of the Southeast, the one, the only, Dave Adams, coming to you live and in living color from Harvest, Alabama, all the way at the top of the state of Alabama, because I am always on top of things, and I have brought my friends along. From Birmingham, Alabama, the one, the only, Hollywood Ben Foster. Ben, have you let your yes be yes and your no be no this week?
Yes.
Well, that's great, because you promised people you'd be at the Birmingham Iron game. You were there.
I was there, and it was a fun time. I knew the product would be interesting. I knew the product would be pretty good, but I got to say everything really exceeded my expectations.
Did it really? And what exceeded my expectations was that Birmingham had a great defense and an okay offense. But I said this on the report when I posted it the other day. Stop me if you've heard this before. A team in Alabama has a great defense but struggles in the red zone. Doesn't that sound familiar?
It does seem reminiscent of some Alabama teams from a few years ago.
Yeah, it maybe in the past season as well.
This team did not post 50 points a game.
No, they didn't. But they also didn't have a quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa. But they did have a running back from a state that holds the cities of the House of Mouse, Pittman, Silver Lake, Sky Lake, Yahala, Gotha, Heathrow, Holden Heights, St. Cloud, the home of the one phenomenal brother, Adam Russell.
It's Yalaha, not Yahala.
It's like Valhalla. Yahala.
Okay.
Right?
I get. Who knows, man? I'm impressed, man. You're broadening out.
It's like when you want a bunch
more and more places.
It's like when you want a bunch of your friends to give you a call. You say y'all holla.
Exactly.
Y'all holla.
That.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should have moved there. Oh well.
You should have, because it looks like there's a beautiful lake there, judging by the picture.
I'm sure there is. It is Lake County, so that makes sense.
It is in Lake County. Hey, and Ben, something else that is amazingly beautiful. What did we do that we're going to put at the end of this podcast?
Well, we just wrapped up a fun interview with Luke Ratliff. You may know him as Fluffopotamus88 on Twitter, but he is one of my favorite Alabama Twitter personalities, but also a huge Alabama basketball fan, just a huge sports fan in general. So we had a great conversation with him. That talk is coming up here in just a few minutes. But Dave, I think we got to get a little football out of the way. It's kind of a rule we lead the show with football.
We do, but we had to bury the lead and let them know what's coming. But there was football played in the state of Alabama and the state of Florida just a couple of days ago, even though the Super Bowl has passed. And I was the only one that didn't get the opportunity to go see these football games. The AAF is here. It's upon us. And to be honest, it's a great product. Adam and Ben, y'all were at the game. Tell me, why was it such a success?
I mean, speaking for the Orlando game, I mean, the entire operation from start to finish, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I mean, I had media passes, so I had a little bit more of an inside look to how everything was done. And just the whole way they pulled everything together felt like they had been doing it for a couple of years. I mean, it felt sustainable. It felt like they had hit their stride already. I mean, there was no hiccups during the game. The processes all seemed to work. I mean, they were just it felt good from the start, and I think that part of that was due to so many fans that turned out down here, and even in the rain, I think Birmingham had a good turnout too. But it felt polished. It didn't feel like something that was the first time they ever did something. Because even some of the stuff we used to watch, right, back in the day, the XFL and all that stuff, it took them a while. This one, they just did it. And it didn't feel like stop and start, and especially with the fast pace of the game, where there are shorter amount of time between quarters, shorter half times, a shorter play clock. It has to move fast. And it moved really well. And Orlando put a great product on the field. I think what everyone expected a Spurrier coach team to look like is exactly what everybody got.
The one thing, sorry, Ben, I had to interrupt you here, but he said what everybody expects a Spurrier coach team to look like. They look like a Spurrier coach team, but Steve Spurrier didn't look like Steve Spurrier. I have to nail this point home. Where was the visor?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a sideline report later in the week and go a little bit more in depth about the game. And I actually got some audio where he explains that. So if you want to know why Spurrier didn't wear a visor, listen to the sideline report that I'm going to drop later in the week.
There you go. If that's the best tease we can possibly do. We've got Spurrier, we've got visors, and it's coming up on the show later this week. That's it doesn't get any better than that, guys. Everything ran smoothly. That's what's amazing. I think when you think about a team in Birmingham being a pro football team or a semi-pro football team, people are making the comparisons to teams that have been around for a year or so and failed. And these Alliance of American Football teams are much better operations. They are slicker, they are smoother, they are truly a professional operation, and they have players that you've heard of. I think that's one of the big challenges with these other teams that have come through Birmingham before, was they didn't have anybody that you were excited to go see. But you've got Trent Richardson and you've got other talented players showing up for the Iron. The same is true with all of the teams in this league. It was great watching Memphis. It was great seeing Christian Hackenberg throw the ball for Memphis. He didn't have the best outing for Memphis, but it was still fun to sit out there and watch that. And that's what's making this product so good, is there are recognizable names that people, especially people that are college football fans, are well familiar with. And that makes these games really interesting. And so I think people were expecting very low turnout for the Iron game, and I think the crowd was around 20,000 is what I've heard in the most estimates. I heard one person estimate the crowd at 35,000, and I think that was a little generous. I think most people for Legion Field said the crowd was around 17 to 20,000. And that's an outstanding attendance for this thing where people have not seen a game played in this league. That's a great opening for these teams.
It is, and I think you're talking about the product being polished. I want to bring two aspects of the product being polished, and I'm going to say this about the open ability of the product. Adam, I don't know if you watched the Birmingham game on Sunday, because I know you were at the game on Saturday night, but there were two things that I thought was one thing I thought was great, and one thing I thought was kind of a little suspect. The thing that I think is great, though, is you're allowed to see and hear when someone challenges, you hear the conversation. It's not just this anonymous person saying, nope, he was out. You hear why their thought process is going to and from that.
Yeah, and I think it was great. I saw a video later from the Orlando game where a player had caught a ball, landed in the end zone, and his elbow was down, and then he rolled over, and the ball kind of skidded on the ground. And they reviewed it for a while, and showing the person, she was like, well, yeah, the ball came out. I think I'm gonna let it stand because they ruled it incomplete. I think I'm gonna let it stand. And then they played it one more time, and she said, wait a minute, no, the elbow hit first, and she was able to see it and make a confident call. But hearing that whole process, not only is it fascinating because it's something that's always been the man behind the curtain or woman behind the curtain. But in this case, I've seen a lot of tweets after that game that said that that's something that the NFL should implement immediately. That's an immediate rule change that every league should do, is allow that to be something that's televised. So I think that the AAF gets to benefit a little bit by seeing what other leagues struggle with, what isn't so great. And since they're starting from scratch and don't really owe anybody anything, they can make these types of dramatic shifts and see if it works or not. And they can always change it later, whereas the NFL is a little bit more locked in. So I think they're going to have a lot more things like that come out of this.
The most affordable ticket for Legion Field was $18. That's huge.
Wow.
There were fans that I was listening to their conversations around me where they were saying this is amazing because for $18 you can't get into an Alabama football game, you can't get into any SEC football game. I don't even think $18 will get you into a UAB game at Legion Field.
No,
so this is something that is affordable and family friendly, and that's a good product, and that's why people showed up. They put a good product on the field and people could afford it. And that is something that has been missing at all levels of football, is something that's affordable and enjoyable. There you certainly had your people there that wanted to pound some beers and be rowdy and kind of act like NFL fans, or what you'd think NFL fans might act like. But you also had a lot of families there that were bringing kids to enjoy a football game, and that was a really cool thing to see.
Ben, you talk about family friendly, and that brings me to my second point. And I don't know if you got to see this, and I know, Adam, if you watched the Birmingham game, you saw and heard this. The family-friendly aspect of this takes a downturn because of this open policy that the AAF has. The quarterbacks are mic'd, the coaches are mic'd, and all the refs are mic'd as well. Well, when you mic a quarterback, you also take the bad. Christian Hackenberg had a piss-poor game, and he let the fans who heard the open mic hear how bad he was having in this game. In fact, I counted 4 times the CBS Network guys, the CBS Sports Network guys had to say, "We apologize for the language you just heard coming from the mic." That's going to be something that the AAF has to look for. If you're going to have this open door policy with a mic on a quarterback and a mic on a head coach, you have to give the speech of, hey, here are the words you cannot say on the networks. Be careful. Christian Hackenberg it was said before, I think I heard someone say on radio, he was known to have a bad mouth, a filthy language mouth. He shouldn't have had a live mic when he was playing on the field. So I think that that's going to be the downside of this transparent microphone on every player.
Well, I think there's a happy medium there where you can get some on-field audio without necessarily getting every bit of on-field audio. I'm not sure exactly what the fix is, but I think there's a way to pull that back a little bit, but still have some of the flavor. And maybe it's a matter of recording those things and then going back to it a few minutes later and saying, here's what they were saying in the huddle before that play, and having somebody that's having a little bit of sense about what's getting on the air versus what's not getting on the air. It doesn't have to be live. You can go back. I mean, think it enhances a lot of other sporting events when you have the coach mic'd up, the manager mic'd up. Even in a few cases, I think umpires and referees have worn mics in different televised events like All-Star games. So I think there is a way to work around this where you get all of that audio, but also still make it a little bit cleaner, a little bit more family friendly. But I think if you were a family in the stands, you had a great time at the game.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll get into it a little bit more with kind of a primer as part of my sideline report later in the week. But there's rules differences, and I love the technology they're bringing to it. And I didn't know this until I read it earlier tonight, but Trent Richardson got flagged because his first touchdown, he spiked the ball, and it went up in the crowd. And the flag that he got was not because of excessive celebration. The flag that he got was that he let a ball go in the stands. And they have chips inside of the footballs that measure the trajectory and speed of throws and kicks to feed data back to the teams. And so the penalty that he got was actually that he let a ball go into the stands because they're so expensive. So that's a little bit of the stuff they're going to have to work through, because wouldn't it make more sense to find the player to reimburse the ball, So I think they're going to have to work through that.
But see, now I'm really curious. I want to know the trajectory of the spiked ball. How hard did he throw it in the ground? How high did it bounce after he threw it in the ground?
Yeah. So how fast was it going?
You guys know me. I love trajectory.
Was it was the spike an upward trajectory, or was it like the Alabama basketball team? Was it kind of a downward?
It was much higher than Alabama.
Much like the Alabama basketball team, it went down and then it came back up.
One last thing I want to get into with the AAF, and we have to get into this because I teased it on my sideline report yesterday. There were a lot of people were praising the AAF. But there was one person in particular that most people say is a very benevolent sports writer, and he's really a good guy, we think, on ESPN. the great NFL prospect Kurt Herbstreit calling the AAF a JV league. Adam, I know you got into it a little bit. He didn't respond, but you had some choice words for him on Twitter. I will let you plead your case, and I'm going to play a little devil's advocate. I agree with what you think, but I'm going to play a little devil's advocate and kind of show where I think Herbstreit's coming from.
Well, first, he's saying that he didn't think that the league could overcome the unis. I mean, really, that's where we're going to base all this off of, number one. But number two, to call it JV, I mean, the guy who had 2 interceptions for Orlando, the linebacker, he played 75 games in the NFL. He's hardly JV. A lot of these guys that haven't played that much in the NFL are hungry because they want a second chance. They've been cut from teams. And between Birmingham and Orlando, if you look at just those 2 teams alone, those are great football teams. That was exciting football to watch. And really, once you put 11 guys on a field and you put them in full pads and uniforms, what is the difference as long as they're not looking like the Keystone Cops while they're out there, right? And so for me, we wouldn't say minor league baseball is JV. No one would say that the G League is JV. It's a different level, yes, but it's not like they put out something that was obviously amateurish. This was a very polished performance for the very first weekend. And so for me, for him to come out and say that it's JV is really just trying to get a hot take out there, trying to stir the pot, trying to get somebody to pay attention to something he had to say. And honestly, I really do believe CBS is the one covering it in prime time. Eventually it'll move over to CBS Sports. He works for ESPN. And personal bias with ESPN aside, that I honestly believe that if the games were on ESPN, he'd be promoting it instead of deriding it. And I don't think that it may be because of that, with it being CBS, but I think that it has something to do with the fact that you got a guy, and you see it with Gary Danielson. He kind of seemed that way the whole game. I've seen other professional athletes on Twitter kind of deride it a little bit, but it's basically like a minor league, a spring league, that kind of thing that can get people ready for another shot, which football didn't really have before unless you go to Canada. So I don't think the NFL really has anything to worry about. If I'm the Canadian Football League, I get a little bit concerned because now these guys have somewhere else to go. But for me, for someone who sat there and walked off the set of an ESPN television show when his team didn't make it into the college football playoffs, to turn around and call anything JV is ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. Dave, please, what is your counterpoint?
So here's my counterpoint. I think, taking the uniform comment aside, that was stupid. He had no basis to do that. But my thought process with this is, we don't herald the G League for the NBA. How many MILB teams do we see on national TV in a year? 2, 3? We don't really make a big point to say, hey, guys, let's check out these minor leagues. Let's check out minor league baseball. Let's check out the G League. Let's check out the SPHL hockey teams. We know they're there. They're there for the fun hometown experience. We don't herald the, here is this cool thing where people are trying to make it back to the pros or make it to the pros. So yes, in part of his mindset, it is minor leagues. Why are we making it such a big deal as the NFL or as college football when it truly is a minor league baseball archetype? I mean, it's the same thing as minor league baseball.
Yeah, but minor league baseball is established. The G League, even though it's changed names and teams have moved and things like that, it's been established. And if the very first minor league baseball game, they trotted out and somebody's like, oh, this is, and some national person with a lot of influence was like, oh, this is JV. Will his comment impact it in the long run? No. But those are established things that have been around for a while. This is something that somebody's trying to start off new. And for the very first thing that someone of influence to say about it is that it's JV and it doesn't have legs and it's not going to make it. How does that help anybody in the sporting community? How does it help any of these guys? How does it help? And it's one of it starts to get into that type of thing that you see Brando doing. You see Colin Cowherd do a lot, and it's just merely putting a take out there, just trying to get clicks and trying to get listens, and it doesn't help. Listening to Jeff Fisher, and I'll get into this more on the Sideline Report, and I'll get off my soapbox in a second, but Jeff Fisher was very concerned in his press conference about making sure that everyone understood that the AAF at its core is about players. It's about their welfare. It's about making sure they have good housing. It's about making sure that they get an opportunity. And it's about the guys who are on the field, not commercials and not money. And although that is, I mean, it's obviously for profit, but they're focused on the players first and foremost. And they're helping these guys get a second chance to do something that they love to do. And it can only be a good thing at the end of the day. So to deride it just doesn't do anybody any good. And I just don't understand why these sports guys continue to come out with these takes that just deride things that aren't bad in their core. I mean, if they were sitting there telling the NFL, we're going to shut you down in 5 years, if Donald Trump ran this and it was the Trump Football League and he's like, you're gone in 5 years, then okay, yeah, the guy's a jerk and this thing should shut down. But these guys are really trying to do something good. And you can hear how excited everybody that's involved with it is. And I just wish people would promote it and build it up and see what happens. Let it ride out, as you'll hear later in the show. Let it ride out and see what happens with it instead of just immediately trying to tear it down. It just irritates me. So.
Yep. I understand. Hey, before we get on a tangent, because I know it could come, I'm going to cut it off here. Ben, You're our picks guru. We've got 4 games to pick for next week. Let's go ahead and do our picks, and then we'll get into our wonderful sponsors.
Yes, 4 games to pick. The first one is Saturday. It's Salt Lake at Birmingham. So, guys, you've seen what the Iron did in their first game. They've got another home game here. Who do you like in this one?
I'm going to stick with Birmingham. I think the crowd at Birmingham is going to run into some heat because Alabama basketball, as we talk about later, tips off at the exact same time. But I think Birmingham's defense is going to do what it does best, and I'm going to say Birmingham wins a close game. Birmingham.
Yeah, I think the Iron too. I think they showed a lot of what they're able to do defensively, and I think they're going to be able to hold Salt Lake. I think it'll be a little bit closer. It might only be 1 or 2 scores, but I think Birmingham will win that one.
Yeah, I think Birmingham proved that they can move the ball down the field a little bit. Perez is a pretty good quarterback. I think the thing Birmingham has to improve on the most is their offensive line play. It was tough to get Trent Richardson involved early because he just couldn't get any runs going. They had their most successful and longest plays with Trent Richardson when they got him to the outside. Look for the Iron to do that and stick to their knitting on defense. I think this is a big win for Birmingham at home. Next up, Arizona at Memphis. Memphis is trying to bounce back after getting shut out versus Birmingham. So what happens in the second Saturday game?
Look, we all know when I say dumpster fire, it's usually the kiss of greatness on the team. But I think it's going to have the effect that it should have. Memphis is a dumpster fire. I think that Mike Singletary is a good head coach, but Christian Hackenberg was a failure when it came to the NFL. He was a great college quarterback. He was a failure at the NFL, and I think we see why he was a failure in the professional leagues. He doesn't have the it factor, and he's a crybaby. So I'm going to say Memphis loses big again.
Yeah, I think so too. You got Arizona, who was the team at the beginning of the season that was picked to win it all. They had the best odds. I don't see any reason for that to shift much with them being up in the top 3. So I think they're going to take Memphis pretty easily.
I think there is a lot of optimism around Arizona. I think Memphis still has some kinks to iron out. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys. I think Arizona is going to pick up a win on the road. Orlando at San Antonio. Orlando looked pretty dominant in their first game. Are they going to be able to keep slinging the ball with the head ball coach as they take on San Antonio?
Well, I think we've been promised that Advisor is coming back this week, so the head ball coach will look like the head ball coach, and I think he'll do a great job. But San Antonio looked really sharp, and I think we're going to have some differences finally in our picks here, but I'm going to pick San Antonio get this win.
Yeah, I think Orlando had the top-rated defense and the top-rated offense, and I think this is where, when you look at how they're going to play against San Antonio, I was amazed last week at how little San Antonio was able to do in terms of scoring. I think they're going to struggle against Orlando too. I think this is the game where Orlando really shows that they should be considered for the top in the league right now.
I think San Antonio has got some good things going. I think a little home field advantage does help in some of these games. So I will take the Commanders in the Alamo Dome. We've got one more game to pick. That's Atlanta at San Diego. Atlanta's trying to bounce back from a less than stellar opening game. What can they do on the road at San Diego?
Not a thing. If there's a team that's in worse condition than Memphis, it's Atlanta. Atlanta's having to go through a whole new head coach, a whole new offensive coordinator. Mike Vick isn't even associated with this team anymore. San Diego is one of the better teams in the league. I got San Diego winning this.
Yeah, I think San Diego will too. Seeing Atlanta in person, especially, I mean, they were not impressive. It felt like the first drive or two that they might have had something, and then the rest of the game, they just didn't seem like they could hang with anybody the way that they're playing. So I think the coaching issues they've had continue to dog them, and San Diego wins.
Well, I think we're largely of the same mind about these games. I do think Atlanta has got so much they've got to iron out, so much they've got to solve. They're not going to be able to make enough adjustments this week. So, yeah, I've definitely got to go with San Diego here. I'm trusting the Fleet to get the win. And so those are our alliance picks for week 2.
Hey, we're not in agreement on some of these picks and some of the picks at the end of the game or end of the show. But, when it comes to things that we agree on, I know we can all agree that our sponsors, the Roo Sport, are incredible. And I know that Adam and I have our Roo Sport ready because, Adam, we're less than 2 weeks.
Oh, don't remind me, man. I mean, I'm excited for the race, don't get me wrong, but yeah, my Achilles is not ready.
Yeah, we've already said we're going to have to walk this thing. I mean, we got to start way ahead of them balloon ladies because – we're not ready for it, but the only reason we're not ready for it is because of our physical ailments and our physical lacks. But when it comes to stuff that we have, to carry our stuff, we know we're ready because we've got that Roo Sport pouch, right, Adam?
Oh yeah, I mean when it is time to do a training run/walk, the Galloway method as they call it. When it is time to do that, you've got exactly what you need in the Roo Sport where it clips to your belt or your waistband. With magnets, you drop the stuff that you need in it, exactly what you need to go run, fuel-wise and everything, even when you're doing some of the longer runs in it, and it just works out great. So, yeah, it takes that peace of mind of knowing that you got what you need when you head out the door.
Yeah, and even if you're not a runner, we say this every week, even if you're not a runner, take it to concerts, take it to theme parks, take it when you're walking your dog. I mean, the two of them have a dog already. The golden voice of the Southeast is about to get a golden retriever. We're naming him Max. So we're about to get that golden retriever. When I take Max on a walk, when Ben takes Shoeless Joe on a walk, when Adam takes Grisham on the walk, we take our Roo Sport pouch with us as well. So we've got those dog treats and those little poop bags that you have to pick up poop. We can carry those bags in our Roo Sport pouch. They're all there, right, guys?
Well, we carry them in a Roo Sport pouch before we use them.
Yeah, I mean, you don't put the poop.
But you could. If you wanted to be weird, you could.
But why would you want to put the poop back in the Roo Sport?
Hey, but it would fit. That's the main point. Right?
The point is it would fit because the bag is that spacious and you really have that many options. But because you have the options doesn't mean you should take advantage of all the options.
I love
it.
That is very true.
But the Roo Sport is that versatile.
Yep, and if you want to go check these guys out, go to www.theroosport.com and check out all their products. They've got that Roo Lounger, they've got the power bank, they've got a bunch of other stuff you can use for your run, for your just whatever you want to use it for. And check out, put the promo code Sideline30, all lowercase and the number 30. You'll get 30% off your entire order. And we love them, just like we know that you will love the Roo Sport product. We know that you will love the interview that we have coming up for you guys. You've seen him on TV the last 3 or 4 Bama basketball games in his plaid blazer. Luke Ratliff. I don't know how else to describe him, but the fluffopotamus. I mean, he is the leader of the Crimson Chaos. He gives a great response to everything Adam and I throw at him about how bad we think Avery Johnson is. We're going to play that for you right here, and then he's going to pick some basketball games. And I tell you guys, you do not want to miss this. He's got the greatest sideline warning. I didn't think that he could agree with both Adam and I on the Braves, but somehow he agrees with 2 differing points of view. Stick around, and you will hear one of the best interviews that we've heard on this podcast. Guys, we'll see you on the other side here with the fluffopotamus, Luke Ratliff.
And welcome back into Sideline Warning. We are pleased to bring on to the show a guest that if you follow anything Alabama related on Twitter, I am sure you're aware of. His name is Luke Ratliff. You probably know him better on Twitter as @fluffopotamus88. But here he is. He is one of the leaders of the student section at Bama basketball games, Luke Ratliff. Welcome to the show, Luke.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, Luke, we wanted to get you on the show and talk a little hoops with you because you are one of the Alabama basketball super fans. So there's a huge week coming ahead for the Tide, a road game in Starkville, and then a home game against Florida. Mississippi State looks like a tournament team. Florida is on the bubble, trying to find their way into the tournament. Luke, just set up your perspective for the next two games.
Okay, so the way I like to look at basketball games for Alabama is I like to go week by week. So if we play 2 games a week, depending on the opponent, I set a record, and if we do that or better, that's a win for us. That's a win in my mind. So this past week we played Georgia and Vanderbilt, 2 really bad teams. Let's just say it; they're not good.
That's the truth.
But I said if we could go 2-0 that week, we beat both of them. That sets us up well, gives us some momentum to go into this week. Realistically, playing on the road at Mississippi State should be a ranked team still, in my mind. I'd like to think of them as a ranked team. They're very good, very veteran team. The Weatherspoons, I don't know. I mean, they've been here. Like, we talk a lot about Riley Norris being at Alabama for 33 years, but we don't talk a lot about the Weatherspoons being at Mississippi State for God knows how long. But they've been there a while. They've got veteran leaders. Lamar Peters, one of the best guards. Being on the road at the Hump Tuesday night, it's not going to be easy. But we play Florida Saturday. That should be a good game. Saturday at 1:00 Central at Coleman Coliseum. I say if we can split these games this week, that sets us up pretty good. The goal in my mind, end all, and I might be getting ahead of ourselves here, but the goal for me, the number I have circled is 19 wins. If we can get to 19 wins as a team after the SEC tournament, that sets us up great to be in the NCAA tournament. Because I think it's going to be hard with our resume and the wins we have it's going to be hard for the committee to turn down a 19-win SEC basketball team.
I think so, and Alabama's showing up with a strength of schedule by, I think, 15 in the last strength of schedule rating I looked at. And when you've got that strong of a schedule, 19 wins is pretty formidable. You look on KenPom right now, and that's actually where the Pomeroy projection has Alabama is a 19-12 season, going 10-8 in SEC play. Luke, I'm looking on Twitter, and I am seeing a hashtag that is trending right now called Gumps in the Hump. What's going on?
Okay, so Humphrey Coliseum at Mississippi State, they call it the Hump. I'm not sure if anybody listening is familiar, but the Hump, that's where Mississippi State plays basketball. It's a close game for us, close road game. Alabama's going to be playing there tomorrow night. I wanted to see, just being curious, I sent out a tweet. I said, everyone who's going to Alabama, all the Alabama basketball fans that are going to the game tomorrow night, reply to this with hashtag Gumps in the Hump. And so far, that tweet's been out for a couple hours now, not too long. And I think I've got like 33 responses with people hashtag Gump in the Hump. So it should be good. I'm expecting a great crowd. I was in Nashville over the weekend at Vanderbilt, and it was awesome because the entire section, all 3 sections behind the Bama bench in Vanderbilt, nothing but Alabama fans. It was so cool. We were loud. We were out there, and I think we really had a hand in that game.
It was a great sound. It was a great sound at the end of the game, hearing all the Bama fans chanting and seeing lots of empty seats where the Vandy fans had been earlier in the game.
Oh, it was awesome. But I figured, Starkville, Mississippi is a hell of a lot closer than Nashville, Tennessee. And, I've sent out a tweet yesterday from StubHub, a screenshot of StubHub, and there's 300 tickets left, and the majority of them are less than $10. And I just really I would like to see us bring that passion we brought to Vanderbilt on the road into Starkville against a really good team tomorrow night. And so far, we've had some great response online of people who are coming to the game, and I expect it to be more. I really do. It should be fun to see tomorrow night in Starkville how many Alabama fans are in the building.
There's no closer
Luke,
road game.
That's right.
There's not. Luke, Luke, you're talking about students and the students, showing some response to the games. Talk to me about the student section. When Adam and I went to the University of Alabama, well, my first time at Alabama, Mark's Madness had just started up, and they tried to get the student section going great, but it was just there in that little square there by the basket. Now the Crimson Chaos started coming around, and I think they've given y'all some on both sides of the court, but the students still don't have that passion that you see at Michigan State, the Izzo crew, or of course the Cameron Crazies are the gold standard. Tell me what you see the Crimson Chaos doing going forward at Coleman Coliseum to get some passion in Coleman Coliseum and maybe get the Blue Hairs off their hands.
Yeah. Well, it was a big point of emphasis for us this year, and I've been blessed to work with athletics marketing and the Crimson Chaos leaders really since the month of December into getting students not only at the games, but to get students energized about the games. And it's hard to do, mainly because we are geographically challenged as a student because of where we're at. It really is one of the, and I don't mean this like no knock on athletics or anything like that, but it's one of the worst positions to be in for a student section in America. We got two sections across from the team's bench, the opposing team's bench, and it goes all the way up to the ceiling in the corner. And that's not prime location, really, when you think about where you want to put the loudest fans of the game. That's not necessarily where you want to put them, but obviously we're making the best of it. This year we've done a lot of stuff. We've done a lot of giveaways and things to get students out in the seats, and we did a bunch of theme nights. I know for Texas A&M, even though we lost that game, we had one of the best turnouts of the year. We did 80s Day, and we gave out fanny packs and throwback T-shirts and headbands and stuff like that, and we had 2,300 students, I believe it was.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we did Mississippi State, not Mississippi State, Ole Miss. No, it was Mississippi State. Excuse me, I was right. When we played Mississippi State the other week at home, we had 2,500 students, and our student section only seats like 2,300. So we had students standing in the aisle, which that was a snow day too, and it was really cool because that was a midweek game at 7:30 p.m. with classes the next morning. That was really cool. We're just doing a lot of stuff that you can see,
right,
as a student and as people on TV too. We want to do things that you can see. We want to have organized chants. We want to have, traditions of our own. And we didn't necessarily have that before with the student section up until about this year. We didn't necessarily have like organized things we did. And that was a real point of emphasis for us this year to get energized, get energy in the student section. But then, if we do that, our whole thought process is if we get students up and cheering for the whole game and loud, it'll feed to the rest of the crowd too. Because we got, I'm going to say it out loud, we got a lot of old people in Coleman Coliseum.
There's where the blue hair came in, man.
So
there's somebody saying it.
They like to sit on their hands a lot, but we want when the student section is really going, when the Crimson Chaos is going, it'll often feed off to the general public as well. And it's worked so far this season. We've had pretty good turnouts, especially in conference. But conference play has been awesome. But we're doing pretty good. It's been a great turnaround from the first part of the season.
Well, you guys certainly have done a good job in SEC play. The Kentucky game, I really think the crowd noise played a big role in Alabama being able to handle Kentucky, keeping Alabama energized while they were hitting a lot of shots in that game. And we've talked about the older generations that are at the game and the contrast with the student section. But when I look over there, Luke, you're in the front row in a plaid jacket, and there's a few other guys wearing plaid jackets too. That's a little shout out to Wimp Sanderson, and I'm not really sure you guys have overlapped with Wimp Sanderson that much.
Well, I've started wearing that jacket. I've had it for so long. I've only wore it like once, but I wore it to the 80s game, the 80s theme game, as a homage to Wimp. and I've just been wearing it every game, road and home and away ever since. And I actually seen Wimp before the Ole Miss game, Mississippi State game, and I wanted him to come over and take a picture with me, and he was wearing this. It's funny. I'm gonna tell you a funny story. He was wearing this god awful sweater. It was. I mean, it looked like a nightmare. And I told him when he come up, I was joking with him. I said, "Wimp, I like your sweater," and he responded to me just immediately after that because we were going to take a picture. He said, "Hurry up because this smile doesn't last forever."
Classic Wimp.
He was gone just as quick as he came. He was gone.
Yeah.
But, I really enjoy. We have a great history in Coleman Coliseum, especially with the student section. Back in the days when it was the Plaid Palace and you had Rejection Row and all that, and not to mention March Madness. The height of March Madness was great. We really want to bring back some of that energy that was in Coleman Coliseum then, and bring it back to present day.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of conversations on the show around what we would consider an upward trajectory or a successful season to look like. And Ben already mentioned how skeptical we can get, Dave and I, about Avery. So in your mind, with what you've seen, you talk about the probability of making the tournament. What would you consider a successful season to be? Where do we have to go? How far do we have to make it?
Successful in my mind, especially in college basketball these days, because it's so competitive. We're living, especially in the Southeastern Conference, we're living in a time now where any team not named Duke can go on, or Tennessee can go and lose any game, really. Because in my mind, it's the field is that stout. And to be one of the best 64 or 68 teams in the nation really means is really a high mark. But I think if we get to the tournament, I count it as a success, really. But if we win in the tournament, hey, come on, exceed my expectations.
Okay, so let me cut you off here, and this is where you and I are going to differ, man. And look, I understand you're probably about to call me a fog, and I will understand it, and I will accept the fact. Oh, here goes Adam starting to read the book. I understand.
Yeah, Dave's going to go for a while now.
That I will get the fog statement. I understand. How are we at Alabama okay with just being one of the top 68 teams? I understand that we are not a powerhouse in basketball. We're a powerhouse in football, but I want the Alabama A to be the gold standard at any sport. So to me, just making the tournament isn't enough. And I think Avery is going to be the plateau of, okay, yeah, you're going to make the tournament, but that's all you're going to be able to do, Avery. Is Avery the guy in your mind that can get us to the promised land and get us to the Sweet 16s, the Elite Eights, the Final Fours every year? Or are we just doing enough to get by? Are we becoming our Auburn football fans and being complacent with moral victories?
I really don't think so. When Avery came in, we all pointed to years 3 and 4 as the mark to get back to the tournament and to make noise in the tournament. Mm-hmm. But we didn't expect the influx of coaches and talent in the SEC to be this great. Mm-hmm. Like I said a while ago, it's the conference is as tough as it's ever been, at least in my lifetime. And I'm not that old, but at least in my lifetime.
Right.
But any team can go on the road and lose. Any team can go somewhere else and win. It doesn't matter, But I'd say like that expectation is still there, like long term. It's just prolonged because we didn't expect it to be this tough. We didn't expect there to be, we didn't expect Will Wade and LSU to be pulling in top 10 recruiting classes. We didn't expect Tennessee to jump up to number 1 in the country.
Luke, I'm going to interrupt you there. Is Will Wade cheating?
Absolutely. He's absolutely cheating. A man, listen, respectable men don't wear shirts of that size. He is absolutely cheating. But that's a topic for another day. Okay? I could talk all day about Will Wade, his big shirts and his trucker hips and how he cheats just so much.
So is Will Wade this version, like your class's version of Rick Stansberry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, without a doubt.
Okay, just want to make sure.
So, Luke, there's a rumor going around that you were seen in Tuscaloosa tonight eating chicken wings with Avery Johnson. Is that true?
Yes, I was actually. We were at Avery Johnson, as everyone knows. Year round basically. They do Hey Coach, the radio show, at Baumhauer's in Tuscaloosa. And recently, we as a student section have come up and said, you know what, we're going to start going to these radio shows, and we're going to start eating chicken wings, and we're going to start doing fun things like having a wing eating contest. And we're really going to get out there because we think it's important to support not just Avery, but the rest of our coaches too. You know, tonight we had Brad Bohannon, the baseball coach, Coach Dana Duckworth from gymnastics. But it's a really fun event. We do it every Monday night at 6 o'clock. We get there. You know, I think the night we had 20-something students out there, something like that. But it's been really fun. We've been doing it for about a month now. We're going to keep doing it. But yeah, Avery, I've learned, really likes the lemon pepper wings from Baumhauer's.
That's good info. That's good insight.
That's good info. Now, what you need to try, I will give you some expert advice on wings. Do the Eli Gold or the Honey Gold, I think is what they're calling them now. We used to be called Eli Gold. Eli Gold hot, and dip them in the lemon pepper dry rub.
That's just too much.
Lemon pepper's like communist wing. How are you eating lemon pepper on a wing, man?
Well, see, you know, that's just doing too much to me. I like my wing, you know, just simple, one sauce.
No,
come on. Thank you, Dave.
I'm not trying to work to eat a chicken wing. You know, I mean, I'd get a job if I wanted to work like that.
Thank you.
Too much.
Thank you. Somebody's got to bring me food that I have to prep at the table myself to eat it. It ain't worth eating.
No,
you come ready to go.
Y'all don't like the melting pot then, do you?
Never been, for that very reason.
Okay. Luke's a college student, so I guarantee you he hadn't been.
So Luke, you know, we've already talked. I'm anti-Avery enough. I've been willing to give him a chance. It's been a good year. But I've been known on this show to say that we should even hire Rick Pitino. That's where I am with Alabama basketball. So when you look at me and Dave and you think about it in that light, if we're on an elevator with you riding up 20-story building and you had that elevator ride to convince us two old fogs, because let me tell you, man, I was at Alabama when the only exciting thing on campus was gymnastics, man. So
hey, softball was decent.
Softball was decent. You are right. But for a raucous crowd in Coleman Coliseum, it was gymnastics by far, man. So if you had 20 floors on an elevator ride to convince me and Dave, two old fogs, to a couple of OGs, why we should be excited about basketball, what do you give us?
Look at the track record. I mean, look at the culture around Alabama basketball now. It just in the program, really. You know, Avery's won. What is it, 13 games against top 25 opponents? And we literally, like before Avery got here, we had not won a top 25 game in 5 years, was it? 6 years? I'm not certain. It was a long time. But two, like, you know, it's not just like of course you can be upset about the inconsistency about the team, right? But at the same time, look at what's around you. Look how tough it's been. You know, who expected Bruce freaking Pearl, to have a top 10 basketball team at some point? Well, of course he cheated to get it.
He's fat. Come on, man.
Who expected that, you know, and who expected LSU to be a top 15 team? It's
they
really,
cheated.
You know, it's all around it. I'm not saying right the ship right now, like stay on like forever. I'm just saying it's things out of our control that have made us have to give them a little bit more time. Like if you would have said 4 years ago when Avery was hired, like year 4, if we've only made one tournament and we're not ranked perennially, it's over. But that was 4 years ago. That was a different SEC. This is different. This is different now. We're playing tougher schedules. We're a top 15 strength of schedule. Our average net win which is don't even get me started on net. Our average net win is 8th in the country, best in the conference. We're ranked tops in the conference in that category. But just let it ride out. Just let it ride out, because not everything has to be. Well, it does eventually, but it doesn't have to be immediately at football standard.
Why not? We're the gold standard in sports and athletics. Why not?
Hey, we're only on the 19th floor. When did you get on the elevator, man? Come on, let him finish.
But yeah, just let it ride out a little bit. Let it ride, because nothing, especially in college basketball, where you're playing 32 games a season, and then if you're lucky enough, you play an entire tournament after that, the best tournament in all of sports after that. Just let it ride out. It takes longer. These things take longer in basketball. I've decided to stay on the elevator and keep riding with you for a second. How much
you're
longer?
gonna ride out? You're gonna ride out the elevator.
I am. I'm going to buckle up in the elevator and ride a little bit longer. So
I'm
to
not
Dave's
buckled
question, I'm going to ask Dave's question for him. I can ask it much more calmly than the man who just screamed into his microphone like that. But how much longer did Tennessee and Mississippi State and LSU and Auburn, did they just sit and wait and wait and wait and wait? Just ride it out. How much longer?
Give it a year or two, because Avery's got an awesome recruiting class coming in. Despite we're going to get, we're probably not going to get Trendon Watford. Like I've already accepted that as a fact. We're probably not going to get Trendon Watford, but we are players in Jalen Ford, James Shackelford, and we should all be like more excited than we are right now about Jawan Gary. He is an awesome player, Team USA basketball player. But just ride a little bit longer, ride a year or two more. Wait to see how it all ends out, because we're playing, and like we got to give it a little bit more time. We can't be so quick trigger on things. Like last year we got to the tournament and won for the first time in 11 years or whatever, however long it was on that.
12 years, yeah.
12 years, yeah, look at that.
No, it's growing by the minute. It's like catching a fish. 10 years, 12 years.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, my mindset, and I'll be honest, and this may be the fog coming out, Dave. I'm going to use Dave and Ben's face as the fog meter to see how much of my fog comes out right now. But when you say, just wait, the SEC got tougher, I hear every other school in the SEC has passed us by.
Yep.
They found a
exactly what I
way.
heard.
Why can't we?
Exactly.
I don't necessarily think so. I don't necessarily think every school's passed us. I think it's just a tougher league all around. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, schools like Tennessee have passed us, because I don't know, whatever.
Oh, we should never hear those words.
Whatever Rick Barnes put in the water in Knoxville, there should be a patent on it.
Why couldn't he have put that in the water in Tuscaloosa?
Because he wouldn't.
Okay, so this is my beef, and my beef is not with the current administration in the athletic department.
Yeah.
My beef is with Bill Battle. Bill Battle waited 1 year too long to fire Anthony Grant. Mm-hmm. I was on the fire Grant, hire Bruce Pearl bandwagon a long time ago, and we waited a year too long and let Auburn scoop up Bruce Pearl, and now Auburn has surpassed Alabama in basketball. If we had hired Bruce Pearl, we could have been there. Now, granted, they are probably cheating, and he would have cheated at Alabama, but you know what? Do what you got to do to win.
Well, speaking of Bruce Pearl, Luke, the first time I really became aware of you was when you were on the court for the Auburn game last year, and you weren't wearing your plaid jacket for the game. You were wearing your FBI jacket right in front of the Auburn bench. And I said, now there's a guy who gets it. And I said, I got to figure out who this is. And like a few minutes later on Twitter, your account popped up for the first time where I saw it. And I was like, all right, got a new follow. I'm going to track what this guy's doing. And of course, it is now like a game day tradition for me. I'm not ready for the basketball game until I've read your Twitter feed. And one of my favorite things you do on game day is you pose the question to Bama basketball fans, what are you doing to get ready for today's game? So with two big games coming up, Mississippi State on the road and Florida at home, what are you doing to get ready for Bama basketball?
I don't know yet. I usually think of that the day of.
Did I catch you off guard? Did I hit you too early?
You did.
Okay, here's a couple. You think about it for a second, Luke. I'm going to tell you a couple things I'm doing. One, I am buying a bunch of Windex and a lot of paper towels because if you're going to win a basketball game, it is important to clean the glass.
That's right.
The other thing I'm doing is I am going to throw darts at a Sherman-Williams store because you've got to get your points in the paint.
That's so good.
Oh my goodness.
These-
So basically,
these are
we're
things-
doing
these-
dad jokes. Is
These
that the?
Hey, it is good Twitter fun. So Luke, have you got one for us now?
God knows. Let me think of one.
I didn't think I'd put you on the spot here. What's one of your all-time faves?
Like usually, because I try to think of a good one. Like at Vanderbilt, when we played Vanderbilt, I had, how are you preparing for Alabama basketball game day? And I said, I'm listening to Lionel Richie because you're going to have to play hard all night long to break up the Commodores. It took me at least 5 minutes to come up with that.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you, Luke. Ben sent that to us and said, "All right, I need you to come up with one." I said, "I am not that creative. I can't do that."
Well, Dave, your real problem is that the way you get ready for an Alabama basketball game is you're like, oh, crap, that's today? What time does it start?
Hey,
that's how you usually get ready.
Well, Luke, one thing is for sure. One thing is for sure. You will definitely be ready for the two games coming up. We appreciate having you on the show and taking the time to talk to us. We're going to do some picks. Do you want to pick some games with us?
I'll pick some. Yeah, sure thing.
All right, guys, let's get rolling with the picks here. We're going to start off. We're going to get We're going to get every SEC game happening this week, so we got to make this happen quick. First off, the Tuesday game. It's a 7:00 Eastern tip. It's two ranked teams matching. It's number 19 LSU and number 5 Kentucky. This one's happening at Rupp Arena. Dave, who do you like for this one?
This might as well be a ranked team in Alabama because no one wins at Rupp. Kentucky in a rout.
Adam, what you got?
Kentucky too. I'm not sure about a route, but I'm picking Kentucky.
Kentucky, hottest team in the country, not named Tennessee. Excuse me.
They've gotten really hot since they lost to Bama.
Yeah, they did. That's actually their last loss. So give me the Cats. Give me the Cats at home.
I think I will make it unanimous, and I will take the Cats as well. Okay, a battle for the bottom of the SEC puts Georgia on the road at Texas A&M. The loser of this game will probably be in next to last place. So who do you guys like in this matchup?
Just because I can't give it to another home team, I'm going to take Georgia.
As much as I want to go along with that so that we can edge closer to 50 on the bet, Dave, I'm going with Texas A&M at home.
I'm second guessing. This is such a bad game. God, this is going to be such a bad game.
No one's going to want to watch it.
No one's like Texas A&M's not going to be able to score, and Georgia has the worst defense ever, and it's just going to be so hard to watch. It's like unstoppable force and like brick wall. You know what I'm saying? Or however that saying goes. I'm not smart.
Your tax dollars at work there, ladies and gentlemen.
give me the dogs. Give me Georgia. And also, at this, give me Nicholas Speedy Claxton being under 10 points.
Oh,
wow, the extra.
He's coming with some hot takes.
Yeah, Nicholas Claxton. No, that guy. Let me tell you, before we get to Ben, Georgia was in town Wednesday. The student section, like Claxton was having a good game. He had like 10 points at some point in the second half, and we all went in and we started while he was shooting free throws, chanting because he has his hair just awful. If you've ever seen him, it's just god awful. And we chanted and we said we started an ugly chant, ugly.
Oh yeah.
Scored 2 points after that. So one of my top 5 rivals now, Nicholas Claxton. Give me under 10 points for him and a win.
There we go. Luke's bringing the fire on the picks. Dave, Adam, you guys got to step your game up. I am going to. I'm really tempted to just stick with Texas A&M at home, but I don't know. I kind of thought that Georgia was starting to figure things out when they played Alabama.
They just played Bama, that was the thing.
I'm gonna trust Tom Crean to do something impossible here and get a win on the road at Texas A&M. I'll take Georgia. I'm picking a road team, Dave. There you go.
Something impossible. Get a win against Texas A&M.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Later that evening, we've got Arkansas taking on Mizzou. This one's happening in Columbia. Who do you guys like for this one?
I'll take Arkansas on this. I don't have any reason just because Arkansas's on the road. And Mizzou's horrible.
Yeah, I've got Arkansas too. They ended up doing a little bit better so far than I thought they would. I've got them on the road.
Yeah, give me the Hogs. Give me Arkansas. Only way Missouri's going to win this game is if they shoot lights out from three, which they did at the beginning of conference play, but they've really slacked off now. Give me Arkansas. Give me Arkansas by 10 points.
Arkansas is trying to creep their way onto the bubble, and I think that really is a motivating force. So yeah, I'm gonna go out there, Dave, and pick another road team, and I'm gonna go with the Hogs. All right, one game left to pick on Tuesday. That is Alabama at Mississippi State. As we do for all of our Alabama games, we want to not just pick a winner, but we want to pick a score. So Dave, take it away.
I think I'm going to surprise some people here. Judging what I've seen Alabama lately and judging from what I've seen by Mississippi State lately, I think Alabama will win a close game. I'm going to say 75-72. Alabama ekes it out by a John Petty 3 at the end.
Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh, dude. You absolutely took exactly what I was going to say. My score was just a little bit higher. I have Alabama 77-75 with a Dante Hall 3 at the buzzer.
No.
That's a joke. But 77-75, Alabama takes it late.
Hey, Dante's feeling it from outside now.
He's shooting 100% on the year.
Yep.
This is going to be a hard game. It's going to be a tough game. Alabama right now, I think they're a 6.5-point dog. I haven't looked since earlier today. Give me the Tide. Close game. I'm going to give it a 74-72. Give me the Tide.
John Petty at the end, too?
Also, Tevin Mack is going to have a huge game. Tevin Mack.
I can dig it.
He had a great game against Georgia. He played pretty solid against Vanderbilt. He's just busting at the seams. He's really hitting stride. Give me Tevin Mack. He's going to have a big game, a big part in that game.
Luke, you said it was a 6-point game. I just looked it up. It is now officially a 5.5-point game.
Moving the line. We are moving the line, folks.
Everything's trending our way, Dave.
Still not trending up.
Guys, it is. I just can't stress enough how hard it is to win on the road in the SEC, despite me picking two games where the road team would win. It is hard for me to imagine Alabama getting the win here. Luke started off the segment talking about pricing in, a certain number of losses. This is kind of an expected loss for Alabama, so everything tells me I should pick Mississippi State here. But all of you guys are being optimistic. I can't not be optimistic. I'm going to take Bama on the road 82-78, and it's not just going to be Dave's pick of Petty or Luke's pick of Mack. It's going to finally be the game where both of them get hot at the same time, and that's how Alabama wins 82-78 with Mack and Petty together, both hitting threes. So there we go. It's got to happen at some point. Why not Tuesday night? All right, Wednesday games. We've got to work in a few Wednesday games. South Carolina on the road at Tennessee. Right now, South Carolina is holding the 4th spot in the SEC standings. Are they the team that could get the upset while they travel to Knoxville?
How about no? South Carolina loses, and it by 15 points.
All right, Adam, what have you got?
Yeah, I've got South Carolina losing by 16 points.
Oh, you just want to one-up me. Come on.
Yeah, no way South Carolina, even though they've really turned it on. They're 7-3, I believe, in conference. I don't know how. I really don't know. I think I've got a theory, though, before I give my pick. Over the summer, when we landed Jawan Gary from Columbia, South Carolina, up from under Frank Martin, I sent out a bunch of tweets to Frank Martin, who was mad online that day. And what I think's happened is Frank Martin has printed out my tweets and hung them in the locker room at South Carolina as motivation. So,
It's your fault.
Yeah, it's my fault. Yeah, definitely my fault. He's reading my tweets. But no way South Carolina wins this game at Tennessee. Tennessee's as good as I've ever seen it. Give me Tennessee by a lot. I'm not even going to give a score. It's a lot.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Tennessee as well. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Tennessee is gonna hold on to that number 1 spot until there's a good reason to drop one, and that may be when they face Kentucky, but it's not gonna be when they host South Carolina at home. So I'll go with the Vols there. All right, we've got Ole Miss traveling to Auburn. It's a Wednesday night. Is the Auburn student section gonna be going, Luke?
It's tough to see. It's hard for them to make it to them midweek games. I was told they all had homework and they just couldn't make the game.
They are very studious down on the plains. All right, we'll get to your pick in a second. Dave, what have you got?
So the Auburn students figure out they can't bring their cows into the stadium, into the Coliseum, and they find a way to leave the cows tied up outside the Coliseum because, it's just a cow college down there. Unfortunately, the cow college and the fat coach win this one.
They let the cows in. The cheerleaders are right there on the side of the court. Boom, baby. Woo. Yeah. So I'm picking Auburn too. Picking them at home.
Luke, can you control yourself from laughing so much over here?
That's a zinger. That's really good. Give me Auburn. Give me Auburn close one. 74-71. Give me Auburn.
All right.
It's hard to win. I haven't seen a lot, especially in conference play. I haven't seen a lot of discipline from Kermit Davis' team. Give me Auburn in a close one, especially in Auburn.
That would actually give Auburn a winning record in the conference.
Yeah, I know. Ole Miss, and people told me coming into conference play, Ole Miss. Oh yeah, they're 12-1. Who cares? Who they play? Houston. That's it. Right? Am I right? Out of the conference. They finally get to play teams in the SEC, and it's hurting our neck, really, every time they lose. But it's terrible because they are just awful. They really are. Except for Brian Tyree, who somehow finds ways to score points. They're not that great. Yeah, give me Auburn. It's going to give them above 500 record. I don't like it, but it's going to.
I've got to be realistic and pick Auburn as well. All right, Vandy, still in search of their first SEC win after their recent loss to Alabama, will be on the road at Florida. What do you guys like in this game?
It's not the Commodores. I'll pick Florida.
Yeah, I've got Florida too.
Yeah, they're winless for a reason. It's sad too because they had a lot of optimism coming into the season and battling through injuries and stuff like that. It's just a tough season for Bryce Drew and them. I'm glad this is the season for it though because we finally got a win in Memorial Gym. But they're going to lose. They're going to lose to Florida. Florida's going to win, but pretty easy.
Yeah, I think Florida gets a win here that they need to keep their tournament hopes alive. So I will pick the Gators as well. All right, we got the Saturday slate of games. Let's run through these quickly. Speaking of Vanderbilt, they're going to be one of the first games on Saturday as they host Auburn in the Weird Gym.
It's so tough to win on the road, but I'm going to have to take Auburn.
I'm actually going to go with Vandy here.
Really?
I don't know why. I'm just feeling Vandy, so there you go.
Really?
Folks,
He turned his video off.
No, sorry. It said fixing poor network connection. That pick was so dramatic. But no, I've got Vanderbilt.
Folks, Auburn's only won one game on the road this year, I believe it is. They've only won once. It's not going to come against their second win's not going to come against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's going to get their first SEC win of the year against the Auburn Fighting Tigers in the Weird Gym.
The Weird Gym is a great place to discombobulate your shots. I like it. I'm gonna go with Vandy. I'm gonna say Vandy finally gets one.
What is wrong with the three of you?
It's just because it's wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking. Think about how much fun.
I'm on record as not being smart. Okay.
At
Look,
least you own it.
You heard it here first, folks.
Please respect my picks. Thank you.
look, I'm being optimistic and I'm having wishful thinking because I'm sitting here thinking that if Auburn loses to Vandy, I'm thinking how delightful Luke's Twitter feed is going to be on Saturday all afternoon long, and I just think that's going to be a ton of fun. Him, Hunter Johnson, all those guys that are so good with the Twitters. I just think that's going to be fun. So I am hoping for really fun Twitter. That's all I'm really asking for. Texas,
it's going to be tremendous content.
It's going to be tremendous content, exactly. All right, A&M on the road at South Carolina. Who do you guys like?
Unfortunately, I'll take South Carolina because they're the home team.
I'm going to go with the opposite again of what everyone might do and go with Texas A&M on the road. I'm feeling like Ben right now.
That's a strange pick, Adam, but we'll let you have it. Luke, what do you got?
South Carolina straight up. They're going to win this game. It's going to be pretty easy too.
Yeah, I think South Carolina gets that win at home. We'll get to the Florida and Alabama game in just a moment, but first we got to pick Missouri at Ole Miss.
I don't want to pick another home team, but I'm going to have to, and I'll pick Ole Miss.
I don't want to pick another home team.
Yeah, my southern accent really came out there.
There we go.
Bless your heart, Dave. Yeah, I'm going with Ole Miss at home.
I just talked a while ago about them being undisciplined, but Missouri is not good. Give me Ole Miss.
Yeah, I got to go with the Rebels if they're playing at their pavilion. Number 19 LSU will be on the road at Georgia. Does Georgia get a home win here?
No. LSU, some cheating, some of them, you know what's. I'll take LSU.
At least they ain't low down and dirty. I'll take LSU as well.
They low down, they dirty, they some snitches.
That's not even the right team.
I know, but still.
Anyway, Luke, who do you
Give me
like?
LSU. Give me LSU. Georgia's not going to have an answer for Tremont Waters. I'm going to go on record here. Tremont Waters was good to begin with, but this year he is far, far better than he was.
Really?
Especially from this time. It might just be because he has a better team around him now, but he is awesome to watch. Last year, Alabama played LSU, and he didn't do good at all. I think he scored 5 points in that game, but he is a hell of a lot better this year than he was last year, and that's hard to believe. But LSU, they're going to win.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how some of the big guys for LSU match up with Obede and some of the other size that's in there for Georgia. I actually think that'll be an interesting element of this game as well. But got to go with LSU. They are the much better team. They've got something to play for. Georgia doesn't have anything to play for at this point in the season. All right, one of the best matchups of the week, number 1 Tennessee on the road at number 5 Kentucky. It's been a long time since there was a top 5 matchup in the SEC, but here it is. The game's being played at Rupp. What do you guys think will happen?
So earlier in this pick'em contest, I said you don't win at Rupp Arena. I'm going to contradict myself, and I hate picking this ugly orange color because they are low down. They are some snitches. I'm not a dog person. Well, I really am, but I got to pick Tennessee. I think Tennessee, this is the year Tennessee can make it and maybe bring a conference title and bring a national title to the SEC in basketball. I'm on Tennessee.
Wow. I want to agree with you there. I have a much harder time than you do picking against Kentucky at home, so I'm going to go with Kentucky against the juggernaut.
This is tough because the way we've picked them, way I've picked them, Kentucky's going to be coming in when they've won 8, 9, 10 straight, whatever it is they've won. Tennessee's going to be going to Rupp, winning 19 straight, I believe the number is. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. And I think with the guard play of Kentucky with Ashton Hagans, and then you got players like Reed Travis and Perry Washington and them, Kentucky's going to win this game. It's going to be close. It might even, dare I say, it might even go to overtime.
Ooh.
Arena. But this game, it's going to be Kentucky. And something weird's going to happen. Watch this game. It's going to be a primetime game. Probably some officiating crew like Doug Sermons will probably be there somehow, even though he's in the Big 12 now. But something's going to happen. Something weird. Kentucky's going to win.
Well, guys, I'm not going to just predict the near future. I'm also going to predict the distant future. Kentucky's going to win. What?
Take it easy, Ben. Whoa, just one.
Yeah, come on, man.
Whoa there. Don't blow our minds, pal.
Kentucky's gonna win this game, and not only are they gonna win this game, when Kentucky and Tennessee meet up a few weeks later on March 2nd, Tennessee is going to win that game. So what's going to happen? Number one, Tennessee is going to get the loss now. They're going to drop a little bit in the poll. Kentucky's going to move up a little bit, and then the home team will win. So essentially, it'll be even serve between the two teams. And what that's going to result in is the SEC getting 2 number 1 seeds in the tournament. Tennessee and Kentucky will wind up 3 and 4 in the country, and they will both wind up being number 1 seeds. That's it, because the top of the SEC is that good. So there you go. I didn't just take care of Saturday. I took care of March too.
Ben, whatever you're puffing on over there, puff pass over here, man. Come on.
Yeah. I'm a believer now, Dave, where I'm at the point where I can't wait for one of those two teams to be Alabama. It's right around the corner.
We just have to hold on, right?
Just ride it out, baby.
The elevator's almost there. Ride it out. So I think. All right, we got one more game to pick before we get to Alabama. Mississippi State is on the road at Arkansas. Mississippi State will either be feeling good after a win over Alabama, or they will be reeling from a home loss to Alabama. What happens when they get to Fayetteville?
Arkansas will be reeling and coming in hot after winning a tough road game there at Missouri, because it's so hard to win on the road, and Mississippi State will just be coming in after a loss when Alabama just barely edges them out with John Petty sticking a dagger in the heart of the hump. I'm going with Mississippi State getting a pick-me-up win.
Yeah, I agree. I think after Dante hits that one improbabilistic shot to win the game, I think Mississippi State's going to take Arkansas on the road, regardless of what happens in the Alabama game.
Guys, Bud Walton Arena, one of the toughest places to play when the people show up. Give me Arkansas at home. They're going to be hot.
Okay.
Both of these teams are going to be hungry to Mississippi State trying to preserve their stake in the tournament, and Arkansas trying to get in. The only thing worse than a hungry bulldog is a hungry hog. I'm going to take the Razorbacks at home. Then we've got one game. You guys
are just teaming up now.
We got one game. Hey, some of us are just of the same mind. We get basketball a little bit better than other people on the show. I'm not going to name any names, but some of us get basketball and understand it a little bit better than other people. We've got one more game left to pick. That is the Saturday game. It is a 1:00 Central tip-off. It's Florida, 12-11 on the season, on the road at Alabama, 15-8 on the season. What's going to happen in Coleman Coliseum? Give me a winner and a score prediction.
I'll tell you, every time Nick Saban and Dan Mullen get together. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. We're basketball. Okay. This isn't a Luke's about to go off. I'll tell you, whenever you think of Florida in basketball, you really do think that they're better than they normally are, because Florida has this stigma about them. Florida has struggled this year, but I still think that they come into Coleman Coliseum and give Alabama a tougher game than Mississippi State gives Alabama at the hump. Unfortunately, Luke said if we go 1-1 this week, he's happy with it. I have us winning at the hump. I think, unfortunately, Florida squeaks out a win at Coleman Coliseum, and it's going to be the opposite effect of what Antoine Petway did to Florida under Mark Godfrey. I'm going to say 68-67, Florida.
Wow. Dave, we're of the same mind again. This is starting to split that fog thing. It's trying to freak me out. I think Florida's going to come in, and this is going to be one of those games where Alabama's fans show up big and it just doesn't produce on the court. One of those 3 categories we always talk about between field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throws is going to be lacking in this game, and it's going to cost us this game. I think Florida brings in their middle reliever late in the game and shuts down our offense for the rest of the time, and I think they're able to produce enough runs in the late innings where Florida's going to pull away. Oh, sorry, Mungo not do good with basketball.
Give me a score, Adam.
I'm actually going to say 65-55.
Oh,
That bad? Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, that is a take. I'm going the opposite. Saturday, 1 o'clock, people will be there. The Birmingham crowd will show up for this game, despite popular belief. 1 o'clock, students will be in there, I know for sure. It's going to be a great place to be in America. It's Coleman Coliseum on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Give me Alabama. Alabama is going to ride this wave they've been on. Like I said, they're going to beat Mississippi State, and they're going to beat Florida. They're going to beat Florida by a score of 79-71.
okay. So you're going against your 1-1.
No, I'm going. I expect them to win both games this week.
He's basically creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, there you go. But 1-1 is not a disappointment.
Okay.
Just managing the expectations there. Look, in Florida's last 3 games, they have not scored more than 62 points. Florida is a very good defensive team. They just aren't shooting that well, and they struggle offensively. And I think when they face Alabama's defense, that's going to create some problems for them. But I also think they're going to create some problems for Alabama. This is going to be a lower scoring affair than what we've seen in some of the last few games for Alabama. And with that said, I think Alabama is going to be able to do just enough because it's a home court advantage. It's people that are going to be there that understand the importance of winning this game and knowing where Alabama and Florida both stand in relation to the bubble. I think Bama's going to win this game. Lower scoring affair. Bama wins this one 72-65. All right.
Okay. I want to say right quick. I find it hard to, if I were.
Oh, we lost you there
Mike
for a second.
White. I'm going to go on the record here with saying that Mike White has the personality of a dishcloth. He is the most stale human being I've ever seen in my entire life. He is the most vanilla person I've ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen him get pumped up for something. He's got that same stoic look on his face all the time. And I can't imagine, I couldn't get, like he put me to sleep. I don't know how his players get up for him. I really don't. But I wanted to go on record with that.
Hey, so Dave, real quick, before we go into sideline warnings, Dave, can you do me a favor and throw another Twitter poll out there?
Yeah.
And ask our folks, which game will you be watching on Saturday? Alabama basketball or the Birmingham Iron?
That's fine.
I'd be interested to know that.
Great poll. I'm actually going to have that game streaming on my phone in Coleman Coliseum.
Hey, Luke, do you do us a favor? And when we put that poll out there, do you mind retweeting it to your?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, let's see.
Hey, Luke, what did you say White's personality was like?
A dishcloth.
A dishcloth.
A wet tomato.
A wet tomato. Look, yeah, I think a dishcloth is an excellent comparison to Coach White. And here's what I'm going to do. If you will go to the Dollar General and buy 100 dishcloths for the student section to wave at White, I will pay for them. I will Venmo you the money. I will buy the dishcloths for the student section to wave.
As long as they say sideline warning on the dishcloth.
they don't have to promote the podcast. If you will just give us a tweet saying that the podcast bought 100 dishcloths for the student section, we'll let you wave them at the game. Think about it. That offer's out there. Think about that. All right, those are the picks. It is now time for the sideline warnings. Luke, this is where we just get a chance to throw out any additional topics we wanted to talk about. It doesn't have to be basketball related or anything else. It's our chance to just bring up additional things. And usually I lead off this part, so I'm going to take it away. Think about what you want to bring in, Luke. We'd love to have your opinions, and Dave and Adam will have some stuff as well. My sideline warning is simple. On Sunday morning, I was getting ready for church, and I sat down for a few minutes to watch E60. And when I turned on E60, they had a segment on Bob Costas, who is one of my all-time favorite broadcasters. I don't agree with all of his opinions, but nobody agrees with everybody's opinions, all of them. They were featuring Bob Costas and sort of the raw deal he's gotten in recent weeks and recent months at NBC because he wanted to challenge the NFL. And essentially his opinions and his stances that challenge the NFL on concussions has led to him being removed or at least leaving NBC. And I applaud ESPN for taking the time to feature Bob Costas and tell his story and demonstrate the hypocrisy that NBC has, wanting to be independent journalists and covering sports, but then also worrying about the money contracts. I appreciate ESPN pointing this out. What ESPN failed to do is point out that they ran off Bill Simmons a few years ago for being critical of Roger Goodell. And you want to point out your competitor's hypocrisy, but you completely failed to point out your own hypocrisy. So ESPN, you're trying to be top-notch journalists with E60, and yet you don't even cover the angle that's most pertinent to you. So get it together, tell Bill Simmons' story, bring Bill Simmons back on ESPN, and tell that story alongside Bob Costas. Get it together, ESPN. There you go. That's the warning.
All right, Luke, the floor is yours, sir. If you have something you want to rant on, we'll let you go.
I want to talk about baseball. Can we talk about baseball?
Always.
You are on a baseball apologetics show, so go ahead.
Baseball, Major League Baseball off season. We've seen a lot of players go to a lot of different teams. Paul Goldschmidt got traded to St. Louis. Yasiel Puig and Sonny Gray are in Cincinnati. I believe Sonny Gray's still in Cincinnati. I could be wrong. You've seen the Philadelphia Phillies get a slew of players, as well as the New York Mets. The Phillies recently got JT Realmuto from Miami, the catcher from Miami. As an Atlanta Braves fan, my whole lifetime, what in the world are we doing? What are we doing as an organization?
Oh no,
I don't understand. You sign, you go out and the day the season ended, the team comes together and tells the fans we got something planned. We're really excited for this offseason. We got a lot of salary, ready just to go out, just to spend. And there's a lot of great free agents and great trades that can happen this offseason. So they told us, they said, be prepared. What do we got? Spring training starts literally next week or sometime like that. Schedule's weird.
Pitchers and catchers report on Thursday or Friday, I believe. What pitchers?
That's 3 days away. The Braves have the same exact roster as last year, and they brought, except for Brian McCann, who I love as a baseball player, but let's be honest.
Watch yourself. Watch yourself, sir.
Huge Brian McCann guy, right? I'm all for having a veteran presence on the team, but what are you going to do other than Brian McCann? We're all on the edge of our seats. Josh Donaldson, awesome baseball player, even though he went to Auburn. Awesome baseball player, former MVP. But what's his shelf life? He's been injured for God knows how long. What are you going to do? That's all you did. You tell me all this money you have to spend, all this stuff you tell us you're going to do. And you bring in Brian McCann and Josh Donaldson. Well, if Josh Donaldson gets hurt, you have the same exact roster as you did last year. The same exact roster.
Luke, they're waiting. They're waiting, Luke.
Ride it out just a little longer, Luke. Ride it out just a little.
Oh, they're waiting. Yeah, they teased us with JT Realmuto for 3 months. They teased us. Come on, get it together. We brought Alex Anthopoulos in from who used to be at Toronto, and he brought all this excitement to the team, and it's his second. We're going into his second year. Today is February 11th. We're about to report for spring training. What do we have? We have nothing. Of course, we got Ronald Acuna and Ozzie Albies, and all these exciting young prospects have already come up, but we don't have power in the lineup. When our floor hitter is Nick Markakis, who is an awesome baseball player, don't get me wrong.
He's a failure.
Hit a home run, Nick Markakis. Why don't you? Hit a home run or bat leadoff or bat ninth. I really do not care. And we got a bozo as a manager in Brian Snitker. And the only reason he's still around is because of nostalgia and how people just feel for him because, he's been in the organization for 75 years. Who cares? Who cares? He can't manage a bullpen and he runs Mike Fulton-Nevich out there for 5 awesome innings and then pulls him and trots Sam Freeman out to the mound, who is literally the worst baseball player in history. Baseball has been organized since 1871. Okay, there has not been a worse person to throw a baseball than Sam Freeman, relief pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. What are we doing? What are we doing? You have all these prospects and no room for them. You have all these prospects in the farm. Yeah, cool. But where are they going to go? You have players like Ronald Acuna in left field. You have Ender Inciarte, a Gold Glove center fielder. You have Johan Camargo and Josh Donaldson at third base and D'Anthony Swanson at shortstop and Freddie Freeman. The infield's covered. The outfield is 2/3 covered. We had one spot we needed to get better at, and that was right field. And we bring back Nick Markakis, who is 48 years old. We bring him back and sign him to a contract.
Luke, I don't want to interrupt, but remind me, who is older, Nick Markakis or Riley Norris?
It's Riley Norris. But, I mean, what are we doing as a franchise? This is the same stuff. Like, don't tease us and do all this new stuff and build a brand new ballpark and, bring in a new general manager to replace John Coppolella or whatever the hell his name was, who was inept at the very most.
Luke,
don't bring us in there and lie to us. But, we're going to do something exciting, and then be afraid to spend money. This isn't like a high school baseball team. This is Major League Baseball. Spend money. You've got hundreds of millions of dollars. Spend it.
But Luke, they did. I felt the same. You can ask these two guys. I felt the same way you did. And then they put out that tweet with that video about the new uniforms, man. And now I'm a believer. That's where the money's going, baby.
You forget too. You forget they didn't really do nothing last year. But then they changed the mascot. Oh my! They changed the mascot. Can you believe it? Oh yeah, that's going to put us.
Look! I'm a firm believer. You will see the Huntsville Rocket in an Atlanta Braves uniform in the next 2 weeks.
See, and I'm not so sure about that. I'm going to talk about that. I'm not so sure about that because of aging. And I'd love to see him there. But what are we going to do when he drops 4 mile an hour off fastball? He's having problems locating, especially in the playoffs. What are we going to do about that?
Hold up. He was great in the playoffs. It's just we got to do it. We got a dumbass for a manager then who didn't bring him in for 6 outs. That was the problem with Craig Kimbrell in the playoffs. You got me going now, Luke.
I'm talking about Craig Kimbrell now. He's aging. There's plenty of young, I wouldn't be upset if we brought him in, but it's not ideal. You know what I'm saying? I'm just upset at the Braves. I'm upset at the Braves every year. What's going to happen is before the end of spring training, they're going to tease us. They're going to say, we have something big tomorrow at noon. We're announcing tomorrow at noon. Stay tuned. And then they're going to sign some old fart like Juan Uribe and trot them around SunTrust Park in Atlanta. It's going to be fun.
Okay, Luke, you're coming on when we're doing our baseball preview show, man. We're cutting your back for this. Adam, you got to follow that.
I can only follow that with 2 words. Josh Donaldson. Anyway, so my sideline warning is going to be short and sweet and to the point. I already ranted on this last week. I'm going to say one sentence about this today. Dabo Swinney was quoted talking about illegal substances being given to his players, not just things banned by the NCAA, but banned by the entire world as not safe for human consumption, saying, quote, "Oh yeah, I mean, there's a chance that it could come from anything." And I'm just going to let that sit there and give our listeners 5 seconds of silence to think about why I say never Dabo. It could come from anything. Oh, They ate a carrot that had it on there. They were given a supplement that had it on there. Why is anybody buying a supplement from a factory that might make something that's banned for human consumption? I'll let that sit for a second. And we're out. All right, Luke, you have something to say?
Luke, you have something to say about it, sir.
Oh, but Dabo, you just gotta love him. You just gotta love him. You know,
he's such a good guy, isn't he? He's such a good guy.
He's feeding his kids, horse food, but you gotta love him.
Let me ask you, Luke, since you bring in, we have started a movement on this podcast, well, the two Fogs on this podcast that started the movement, #NeverDabo. Are you okay if Dabo becomes the next guy at Alabama?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I wouldn't. It wouldn't be my first choice, but I'm okay. I tell you what, and it's going to suck because this means he has to have success.
Right.
Jeremy Pruitt.
I'm okay. That's who I want.
But that means he has to have success at Tennessee.
I know.
And that's bittersweet.
I know. Adam, bring your video back. He
back.
says he wants. Okay.
I'm back.
All right.
But I wouldn't be much like I was talking about Craig Kimbrell for the Atlanta Braves. I wouldn't be upset because it's Dabo. He's going to win somehow.
Yeah.
It's somehow. No, it's the somehow, man. It's the somehow. That's how players get Osterine. We'll win somehow. Anyway.
There you go. All right. So I'm going to stay on the show's topic from last week. Y'all knew it was coming. Y'all knew I couldn't leave this alone. I made the statement last week. It says in the Bible, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Well, lo and behold, somebody today did not read their Bible because somebody signed a contract, an actual oath, that they would go and play Major League Baseball for the Oakland Athletics for $4.9 million, and lo and behold, somebody got in Kyler Murray's head and said, hey, why don't you break that contract? Why don't you go against your word? Why don't you, sorry, Luke, why don't you be like the millennials out there and say, hey, whatever's right for me, I'll do whatever I want to do. This is worse than the transfer portal, people. This is somebody in the actual adult world saying, I will do what I want to do. I will break a contract and I'm going to go play another sport because I think I might be able to make a little bit more money doing this. Guys, this is an epidemic in the country. We are not letting people stick to what they have said they are going to do. We're not letting people stick to their word. Kyler Murray, you signed a contract to play for the Oakland Athletics. Technically, I hate to say this, Adam, but technically the Oakland Athletics own your ass. What you're doing is breaking your bond. You're breaking your word. Don't you dare try to get married because that till death do us part thing, you'll probably break that too, Kyler. So that might be a little bit over the top, but I'm sorry, what you're doing is not right. You're in the adult world now. Make the correct adult decision and stick with the contract that you had agreed upon with the Oakland Athletics. Adam.
So I'll say I'm in agreement with you on Kyler. The transfer portal and me, this is two different things because this was an actual contract. But how do you feel if you're Kyler Murray? You got to play for the University of Oklahoma, win the Heisman Trophy, have a shot at the national championship, and you only have to give back 1.29 of the 1.5 million, which means you made $210,000 and kept your eligibility, got to play for Oklahoma in the process. I mean, talk about loophole city, man. Yeah, he found a way to get paid as a college football player. Congratulations, Kyler. You got paid, and he's taking his money, and he's running, and the Oakland A's are the sucker in all of this for jumping all over him because he is not going to be successful in the NFL. It's just the fact. He's not going to be.
No, and I'll tell you this, though. Things aren't going to pan out for him in the NFL, but, folks, he could absolutely be the backup to Luis Perez for the Birmingham.
No. That's Blake Sims' job. Don't come in here and take our job.
This is third string for a reason. Oh, God. Love Blake Sims, but he's third on the depth chart at quarterback. What difference does it make if he's third behind whoever's in front of him now or third behind Kyler Murray, who was behind Luis Perez?
I think Atlanta. And who did Birmingham play?
Memphis.
I think Atlanta or Memphis might be better suited signing somebody like Kyler Murray. They need a little bit of offense.
All right, guys. Well, there is our show for the week. This is normally where I say, all of the socials where you find Sideline Warning, but I'm going to start off, and I'm going to let our esteemed host, our esteemed guest over here, guest host, give his socials out because that is a great follow. Go ahead and tell your socials out.
Guys, you can follow me on Twitter. My name is Luke Ratliff. I'm on Twitter as Cameron Luke Ratliff. My app is at Fluffopotamus88. That's FLUFFOPOTAMUS88. Follow me there. The content mostly bad, but sometimes it's good, and you just never. That's the joy of it. You never know. You're taking the gamble anytime you follow or interact with me. Yeah, if you love basketball, Alabama basketball specifically, follow me. If you love general content about things, follow me. I'm not going to hold it against you if you do or don't, but that's where you can find me.
All right. Well, Adam, I throw it to you for this one every week. If you want to get a hold of the show and you want to be part of the show, how do you get a hold of the show?
931-44 Blitz. I'm not on mute this time. Are you guys proud of me?
I am proud of you this time.
931-44 Blitz.
All right. If you want to follow us on the socials, we are on Instagram and Twitter. We are at SW The Show. I am at DAdams419. He is at The Ben Foster. Adam is at Runtide Run. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/SW The Show. Also, join our Facebook fan group, Sideline Warning fan group. Guys, we say it every week, and as always, we'll say it this week. We love you. We'll see you next week. Roll Tide, and I will add, Forge On, and whatever the Apollos say, go Apollos. Take aim, I think. Anyway, take aim, roll tide, and forge on. We'll see you next week.
I think we told you we'd do 20 minutes, and we did an hour and 20 minutes.
No, so I got a text when I went on that Craig Kimbrell rant. I got a text from my wife. Once again, last week she said, if you wake up Harper, my 1-year-old, I'll kill you. This week I just got a text that said, too loud, ...
You ought to send her one back that says, turn down for what?
Nah.
Yeah.
And you're from where? North Carolina?
North Carolina.
How'd you get to Alabama?
I'm going to tell you. Growing up, I grew up in a small town outside Charlotte called Wadesboro, North Carolina. And my neighbors across the street from me were from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Roll
and funny story, my neighbors across the street from me were from Tuscaloosa. My neighbors right beside me had season tickets to North Carolina basketball. And that's where I got really, into basketball, was because every game they wouldn't go to, they'd give us the tickets and we'd go to it.
So Duke, Carolina, Alabama, Auburn football. Which is the bigger rivalry, and what's the most fun to go to?
Alabama, Auburn football, by far.
Really?
By far, not even close. They get serious. Like Duke, Carolina is mainly because of how close they are to each other.
Right.
That's mainly it. Carolina State is about the same way. Carolina, NC State. But Alabama, Auburn, and really it's because there's no common ground. Like there's no protein in the state to pull for. Like nearly every Duke and Carolina fan is a Panthers fan, Panthers football fan, or Hornets basketball fan. Like there's that common ground for them. There's no common ground here. Like it, one way or the other, 365. But I will say this: I've been to Carolina I've been to NC State for basketball, meaningful basketball games. I've been to Wake Forest, Clemson. I went to Virginia Tech one time just on a whim. Like we were passing through there going to West Virginia, and there was a basketball game, so we stopped. When we played Kentucky this year in basketball, and when we played Oklahoma last year, 2 best basketball environments I've ever been in by far.
Really?
Not even close.
That's saying something.
Not even close. It was awesome. But the thing is, whenever you got people that are loud, when people are making noise, it's all cement. It just bounces.
Right. The problem is getting them.
North Carolina and like Rupp's the same way. The size does it. It's not. Tennessee's very much the same way. The size. It's not necessarily it's producing sound. It's just the size of the arena. And if everyone's clapping just as little as clapping their hands, it's a little bit loud because there's 22,000 people there.
Yeah.
When you got an old place like Coleman, it's that's the way Duke is because Duke it just bounces. It just. Yeah. But we got a place like Coleman where it's 15,000 people and it's all concrete. It bounces. It radiates.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
you gotta have people there.